So next morning we packed up and we were, man, if there's one thing Beck and I are pretty consistently amazed by is that our ability to be able to organise the kids and get going is actually pretty impressive, and we often surprise ourselves. And so, we had the kids in the car, the house tidied, we cleaned, we took the bins out, did all that sort of shit you do when you're at an Airbnb and not a hotel. And yeah, so we did all this stuff, and we were out by 7:30 in the morning. We're pretty chuffed at that. We're in the car, we're like, oh shit, look at the time, So, so we headed to the dentist with Beck. So Beck's got this dentist that she's been seeing so early in her youth, I think so, yeah. I think she was riding a motorbike and hit her front tooth and it blackened, and they ended up finding this really, really good dentist. His name's Adam in Perth. Well, actually, he was in Mundaring, but he's moved to he's got a clinic in Perth now, and he's the only dentist that Beck doesn't cry at. Right now, obviously, my belief is that there's a little bit of trauma there, because right at the start of her youth, she's got this like black tooth, and don't get me wrong, like appearances matter when you're real young. Making friends and trying to find yourself in social circles and all these sorts of things. And well, do I think appearances matter? No, but I think the perception of appearance is a lot more stressed at that age. So, but nonetheless, so she found this this dentist that she really, really likes, and he's really good. Hey, like as well. When I think around, this is one of the things that came up toward the end. So I am jumping ahead a little bit. After her meeting, is that after her appointment, is that he said to her, what was it? Oh, that's right. So she had a oh God, what do you call it? A filling that needed to get done. Okay. And he was like, oh, well, actually, there's this little, like, spike or something on the top of your tooth. So he's like, I've shaved that down, because what was happening is that was actually creating the grief. And she was like, oh, wow, like, no one actually told me that. And he's like, yeah, well, and then it didn't follow up on that, right? Not in the sense that it's like, oh, it was from negligence, but she was like, oh, okay, like, well, what can I do? And I can't remember, there was something that he recommended. Oh gosh, again, it's a few days after we got back from Perth, and I've just been head down, arse up, getting a few things ready to implement in the business. So I've been very goodness. I'm behind the 8 ball on catching up on this, so my memory on the nitty gritty of the details is starting to go. I'm about 5 days behind from memory, so but what he did, I can't remember the specific thing that he recommended to her, but it was very much like, yeah, like here's what I would do, like I would suggest doing this and doing that and rather than usually the experience with dentists is that it's like oh, like we found this, like, okay, cool, quick, come, we're going to go show you our treatment plan. We're like, yo, fucking chill, man. Like, I don't want a fucking treatment plan. I want you to fix the thing. And then, but it's like, it's always, you feel like you're always trying to be upsold, and I understand that it's good business practice and everything else, but as well, like, it's always this like, well, how are you trying to get me? And whereas this guy, Adam, like, we'll literally drive to Perth for Beck because there's so much trust there, and he doesn't push anything. He's like, hey, like, here's my suggestion. Here's what I've noticed. Like, take it or leave it, and yeah, and there's care and intent, and he's slow, and he takes his time. Like, it's really cool. So, I thought someone was coming in. So anyway, we dropped back off to the dentist, and the kids wanted to get a book, which, you know what, like I said, I'll very gladly spend liberally on my kids reading books. So we headed to Koorong, which is a Christian bookshop. We went there, and the kids came with me, and yeah, this is really interesting. Hey, like, maybe it's just abnormal. But I'm in this bookshop with 4 kids, and Sterling with me too. So like, a young one, and I must have had 3 or 4 people, so 3 women and a guy. Yeah, there you go, 4 people. So there was 3 women and a guy. All the people who worked there were like, "Oh my goodness, look at you! Like, wow, it's incredible. You've got all 4 kids there." And I'm like, "Oh, cool. Like, thanks. Like, I appreciate that." I'm like, "Man, I never see anyone come up to Beck and say that. I never see anyone come up to Beck and say, 'Man, like, really well done. Like, look at you. How well you're managing 4 kids.'" You know what Beck does get on the regular? She gets this. "Oh, wow. Should have found a TV. Oh, wow. You got your hands full. Oh, wow." Like, and I'm just, man, we were talking about it the other day. It does our fucking head in so much, where it's just like, man, and ultimately the only way you can perceive it without getting like shitty at people is to understand that the fact that they think it's so amazing is because it is beyond their capacity to be able to do it. Otherwise, it wouldn't be amazing to them. If I see another couple out with 4 kids, I'm going to go, well done. I do the same thing. But if I see a couple out with 8 kids, I'm going to be like, shit, far out, well done. I'm going to think that's incredible. Would I comment on it? I'd like to think I wouldn't, but maybe I did, and yeah, whatever. Or maybe I would. So that's something that I found really interesting to observe. Yeah, and it is something that rocks back up, eh? Like, yeah. Anyway, so we had brekkie at the cafe that's in there, and yeah, it was pretty ordinary. Kids ran around and found their books they wanted to get, and Tilly, gosh, she takes forever to make decisions sometimes, and it's great for teaching me patience. And she ended up finding this. She ended up finding this pink Bible, and that's what she wanted. Really delicate pages. It was literally a Bible. Like, that's all it was. And she was like, she saw it and she was so amped. It's like pink. It's got a little like magnetic clasp over the side of it, and she was so amped for it. It's like really paper thin, like rice paper thin, like delicate pages, and there's no pictures in there. It's literally a Bible. The funniest thing ever. And she was so pumped. I was going, okay. Sure, like, if that's your thing. But and she was dead set. She loves it. Hey, like, she'll tell me like, "Daddy, I can read like an adult." I'm like, I love that. Yeah, cool, sweet, sounds great. Like, it's so good. I love it. So yeah, Lexi got another book, and Eliza, I can't remember what they got, but they obviously got their age appropriate ones. So that was funny. So we jumped in the car, and there was this one car, God, it parked so close to me, like so close to me. Is the irony of thinking this in a car park of a bookshop, Christian bookshop, was that I was like, my first thought was, I'm going to key this car. I had my keys in my hand. I was like, I'm just going to key this car. And I was like, it's okay. It's only a car park. But the part was, and this is the frustrating part, was I had Sterling, and I need to get him in his car seat, and he's crying and shit. So I had to just put him on the passenger seat. I reversed the car out into the middle of the car park, and then got him back in this car seat. Right, problem solved, whatever. Yeah, my first thought was like, like I was a little bit highly strung with all the kids and stuff like that. Which is also hilarious, right? Everyone's like, "Oh, wow, you're doing such a good job." I'm like, fucking, like barking at the kids for like, "Come here, like, don't touch that." Oh, it's so funny. Maybe they were trying to say that out of pity. Yeah, who cares? Anyway, so yeah, so I loaded him in the car and everything else, and headed back with Beck. Went and picked her up, and and we started making our way back to Kalgoorlie. So it was probably like a 10 o'clock, 11ish, and so we just started cruising. Kids watched a movie. And I just started punching out audiobooks, hey, like a bit. And again, another interesting thing, like with developing a bit more discipline, like I'm wanting to wrap things up. I'm wanting to finish things that I've started a lot more. So I've been wanting to really finish these books that I've started and got close to finishing, but haven't finished, So I finished off 4 books while I was driving back to Cal. I listened to them at 2 times speed, So And I find for the most part, like with audiobooks, I'm wanting to understand a concept. When I read a book, I'm really wanting to like grasp it, grasp the details. So so we were driving, and we ended up stopping at Tammin, and the kids, they wanted to jump on these like poxy bloody arcade games, and we've been trying to teach the kids about marketing. And marketing is when a business or someone wants you to give them your money, and they're like, "Oh, why?" I'm like, "Well, because that's how they get more money, and it comes from you, and they tell you that you need this thing or you want this thing, and then really, and this is cool to explain this to like a 6 and a 4-year-old, right?" And so anyway, so we went there, and they've got these like claw, the ones that you pick up the toys and shit with. And she was like, "Daddy, can we?" I was like, "No." These machines are lying to you. And she's like, "What?" I was like, "No, they're lying to you. They do not work." And I explained to her, like, it's like they come down and they don't quite grab the thing you're trying to pick up, and and they lie to you and let you think that you're going to be able to get a teddy, but you're not. She's like, "Why?" Like, and explained it to her. Anyway. Then there was a shitty merry-go-round, poxy thing. Nothing flashy. Literally, it just goes, shh. And Lexi was like, "Dad, can we?" And all the kids jumped on and everything else. They just like sitting on it, even if it doesn't go anywhere. And I like looked it back, and I was like, "I know we've got coins in the car." And I'm looking at it, I'm like, "What does it matter?" So I went and chucked $2 in, and they just sat on this thing going around in circles. Like, I don't get it, man. Humans are so simple. Anyway, so we did that. And then we ended up driving back to driving back to Cal, and so I was able to finish a few pretty good books. One around productivity was Indistractible by Nir Eyal, and I've heard a few people talk pretty critically about his work because he talks. He's got another book called Hooked, where he goes and he teaches people how to develop like addicting games or addicting platforms. There you go, buddy. Sorry, the young fella's still here. And then he publishes another book teaching you how to not get addicted to people's platforms, and it's like, what are you doing? Nonetheless, it was good. It was good content, so strategies that really tie in with this other book that I'm reading at the moment on productivity, which, funnily enough, is called On Productivity. So that was good. There was another one around, like team management, and I didn't really like it. Hey, like, it's good reason probably why I hadn't finished it yet. But it was just very like corporate, like really old hack methodology, and just like, you want to do a performance plan with this person if this happens and if that happens, and you need to cover these bases, and it was really like soulless, so yeah, anyway, got that out of the way. Dolph DeRoos finished a book by his called Wealth Magnet, and pretty much for the most part, it's just about mentality, and looking at opportunities, and it's not to say it's stuff that I already know. Like, I did get a few things out of it, but the overarching theme is around, like, what got you here won't get you there, and that there's a level of thinking that needs to change for you to go from this level to that level. And I agree. I'm totally on board, wholeheartedly on deck with that. So, yeah. And then the last one was The One Thing, and I've read The One Thing a few times, and it was really good. So it's something that I'm actually going to be incorporating, that sort of thought pattern into our team going forward, and being very specific about what is the most impactful decision and thing we can be doing right now. And obviously then that ties in with the productivity, I guess, habits that I'm not wanting to, that I am developing and I am using. So that's been pretty cool. And so I've been working on those, which is cool. Anyway, while we're driving back, obviously we chucked a movie on for the kids, and Lexi's got this little buddy, like she like goes to bed with, and she like propped it up right there so the bunny could watch the movie. And Beck noticed it, and I turned around, she was like, "Wait, look!" I saw her in the mirror. I was like, "She's so sweet. I love that little girl." Yeah, so we did that, and then we were unpacking and everything else, and I made this comment. I can't remember what it was. Pretty much, I had a bit of a go at Beck because I said to her, I was like, "Oh, like, you know, something about like, you know, like that." I was implying that she's not coming to bed like at a reasonable time, you know, and I, you know, I love my woman. I love her because she just doesn't take my shit. So good. She is such a good woman. She just doesn't take my shit, hey. So she was walking away, and then she turned back around, and she was just like, you know, why do you always tell me to come to bed? Like, and she had like that bite in her. Like, why do you always tell me to come to bed? And I hope you guys heard that. That was him farting. That's hilarious. Please. And I said to her, I was just like, and it caught me off guard. I was like, well, because I feel like oftentimes, like, you just spend time doing stuff that is not important right then. Like, it can be done later. But getting good sleep when you've got the opportunity to get sleep, that is important. You know, and usually he's asleep by that point. And she's like, yeah, but, like, if I don't do this, then tomorrow I'm on the back foot. I need to get it done now. And, you know, and then there's differences in opinion on that. But he's gotten sick. That's hilarious. Yeah, like I don't necessarily subscribe to that. But if that's how she operates, and then I think this is where, you know, there's love the emotion and there's love the action. And love the action is going, man, I love you. And if that's how you operate, that's fine. And if you end up thinking that the way I operate, the way I think, and the way I problem solve and allocate tasks and stuff is better suited later down the track, and you want to adopt that methodology, cool. But you don't have to. I'm going to love you where you are. And that kind of had to be the point that I got to. I was like, okay, like, you're right. I should just shut up. Like, and I probably should just let you do your thing. And, but I did explain to her, I was like, hey, babe, like, if I'm going to be up, you know, so that we can start the day right, I have to be up at 4:15 to be able to go hit the gym at 4:30, to come back so that you can go hit the gym at 5:30, so that we can get back and start the day at a reasonable time with the kids. You know, so it's like we're playing it forward. I'm just like, so I actually do need to go to bed at a reasonable time. And I know it doesn't mean that she has to, but we share the bed. You know, so she'll come climb into bed and disrupt it. And then, you know, you're already going to be up a few times during the night because of Sterling and all these sorts of things. And so, and straight away she was just like, listen, if you want to go to bed, go to bed. Like, that's fine, but this is what I'm doing. And just as a point of clarification, that's not reflective of every aspect of our relationship. There are aspects where I guess, I'm trying to word this in a not archaic way, because it's not like she submits to what I say. But I know I've said before, like, for the most part, Beck and I subscribe to traditional gender roles where, and we've seen this play out. This is the other thing as well. It's not just like, okay, this is the way we want to operate. Like, by default, we've seen this play out where how I show up as the father and the man and the husband in our relationship and household really dictates so much of how everyone else operates and functions and there's so much that I do that determines how everybody else operates and shows up. It is incredible to observe. So there are other times where, for lack of a better term, Beck does follow my lead. Yeah. So no, it's interesting. But then there's she'll put a foot down when required, and I love that about her. It is one of the things that I absolutely love about the woman I've married. I'm so glad that she's the mother of my children. So yeah, that was pretty much it. Yeah.